Yes, you really can heat your house for free off of solar. You guys asked for a more detailed explanation on how we're heating our house for free with our DIY solar heat pump. And so let's go ahead and I'll kind of walk you through the process, and we'll do a test of it to see actually how much power it's using. First of all, let's go to the app here. So I've got it turned off so you can kind of see how it works here. But right now you can see it's 72 degrees in the house, so we'll tap on that. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna turn it on here, and we're gonna turn it all the way up to 80 degrees just to make sure that it is running like at full speed ahead. So when we go out and test it, we can make sure that everything's like trying to really heat it up. But on the app, right, you can set this and turn it on and turn it off from anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection. Of course, you don't have to use a fancy app like that. It comes with like a standard remote control that you can use to control it from inside the house. But imagine like if you had like a remote cabin, a camping cabin or something like that that you would go to in the summertime or the wintertime, and it was off grid, right? And you had internet there like a lot of people do, right? You either have a Wi-Fi hotspot kind of thing, or you have Starlink out there, and it's always going because you got like some security cameras and things like that, to make sure that, nobody's doing funky stuff in your cabin. Well, just think, man, if you could like remotely with your app turn the heat on before you get there, just think how happy your kids or your wife or your grandkids would be when you walk into your cabin and it's nice and toasty warm just waiting for you. Or maybe, it's summertime and it's blazing humid hot out there somewhere down in the south, and you come into your cabin and it's already nice and cool for you. That would be way sweet, wouldn't it? But anyway, let's look at this here. All right, so I took the cover off here so that we can get our amp clamp on here, and after it's been running a little while and it's like making sure that everything's going good, we'll check the amps and see how many watts we're using and compare that to some other electric heating systems that are out there that a lot of people use, but I don't think they're going to be nearly as efficient as this guy right here. Let's just talk about this thing for a second, right? This is like, it is a DIY solar heat pump. And when I say DIY, I mean like you can totally do it yourself. We installed this whole system ourselves, and I had never installed a air conditioning or heating unit like this before. I did work in HVAC, actually industrial refrigeration, like 24 years ago or something. And it was always on the service side. It was never on the installation side. So I'd never done that. But installing this thing was really simple and easy to do. It all came like on one pallet, right? Everything that we needed ready to go. It came with like the cover that you see right back here. It came with the line set, the indoor unit, the outdoor unit. It came with the tools that we needed to use to install this thing, and a super detailed instruction book. So there was like no question that wasn't answered in installing this thing in that book. It had pictures and everything, man. It was great. So for a DIYer, super simple to do. And you don't have to be off grid to use one of these. I mean, this is made for on grid, but we're off grid. And so, we have our solar panels and our batteries and all that kind of stuff set up. So we're running this right now off of the power of the sun, man. Really off of the power of our batteries that stored up power when the sun was out. So the first thing we did was we made this concrete pad for it, right? We got the dimensions and just framed it out and poured a little concrete pad for it to mount on, and then unboxed everything and took the indoor unit inside, and there's a cardboard template that they give you, and you put it up on your wall right where you want your indoor air handler to be, and you just stick it up there and tack it to the wall. Then I would suggest really that you use a stud finder and check and make sure, because you're going to drill a hole. It's going to be about this big and it's going to go all the way through your house. You might be a little nervous, but when you drill that hole, you don't want there to be a stud right there, right? So you may have to move it over a little bit. So be sure to use a stud finder. Make sure that you're right like in the middle. And another reason why we're out here right now, instead of filming this inside where it's nice and toasty warm, is because I wanted you to hear how quiet this thing is, right? I mean, these are our dining room windows right here. You hear that? It's so quiet, man. It is amazing how quiet that thing is. Then you just hang the bracket up there right, that the indoor handler like clips onto. So you fold out the refrigerant lines on the inside there, and you put them through the hole, and you just clip this unit on there, and the inside part is done. I mean, like, that's it. Drill a hole, mount the plate, clip it on there, and you're done. So from there, then you're gonna bring this guy out, and you're gonna set it on the pad and like bolt it down to the pad and make sure that it's perfectly stable. Then you can start running your refrigerant lines. You run like the back of this cover right here. You run the back on there, kind of the line that you want your refrigerant lines to go in. And then you can attach your refrigerant lines and just run them along there and bend them where they need to bend. Be sure not to kink them though. And get your refrigerant lines all run down and connected to your unit. And what's really cool about these, like, it's DIY because everything is sealed. Like, there's no danger of refrigerant escaping into the environment and ruining the environment, right? Or anything like that. You don't need an EPA certified HVAC technician to install one of these things because everything's sealed. It's just screw it together and it works, right? Because, you know, like when I did HVAC work and I would sometimes watch the installers install HVAC units, you know, you have to pull a vacuum on them. You have to braze the connections together. It's not just solder, it's like super solder. It takes special skill, and back then it took a special license to be able to do that kind of stuff. But not with this, man. You just screw it together, 2 wrenches, and it's done. Anyway, you get your refrigerant lines hooked up, get your cover on, wrap the line in the vinyl tape that they give you. Then you're ready for the electrical, right? This part right here. And again, that's something that's super simple, but if you're nervous about doing electrical work on your own home or your own cabin, then you can always hire an electrician to do that. But man, you really don't need to unless the local laws in your area require you to do that. But we don't have those local laws and we can do it ourselves. But it's super simple. You just look in the book and it tells you what size wire you need to use for how long you're going. And then you just run the wire from this little box right here all the way to your breaker panel, wherever that is. So ours is like completely on the other side of the house. I don't know, it's like 100 feet of wire probably that we had to use. But you install a new 2-pole breaker in there, put the breaker in, connect the wires to it, run them over here, connect them up in here, run them into here, and bam, baby, you're done, ready to go test it and make sure it works right. I did leave out one important step though, and that was you need to leak check your connections. Right here's a connection, and way up there, right where the lines come out of the house and you connect your refrigerant lines to, there's a connection up there. So before you put the cover on and get everything all buttoned up, you need to leak check that and make sure that you've got those connections tight. But you know, we had no leaks. It's super easy to do. You just use some soapy water and see if there's any bubbles. No bubbles, you're good to go. So this is the Mr. Cool 36K, 36,000 BTUs this guy will put out. It's good for up to around 1,500 square feet, right? So with this unit, you could heat and cool a smaller sized house, right? 1,500 square foot house. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at, especially if you're talking like a cabin or something, right? We got our amp meter on here, and the unit's been running now for a few minutes. Let's go ahead and see how many amps we're drawing. 11 amps. So we're doing 11 amps at 220 volts, because it's a 220 volt system. 11 amps times 220 equals 2,420 watts. So 2,240 watts to heat 1,500 square feet. I mean, that sounds like a lot, right? But let's compare that to like some other standard electrical heating, right? That you might use in a cabin or in your house or something like that. A lot of you guys might have baseboard heaters, and baseboard heaters are cool. They're super simple, but they take a ton of power to heat a smaller area, right? Check this out. A 1,000 watt baseboard heater will heat around 125 square feet. And so to heat 1,500 square feet, that's gonna take around 12,000 watts. Those little electric plug-in heaters, they look like a radiator, or some of them have like a little fan and it glows red in there. They're like 1,500 watts, right? They're only gonna do, you know, like a 10 by 12 room. They're gonna do like 120 to 150 square feet, and that's it. That's 1,500 watts to heat that, right? So we're doing 2,400 watts to heat 1,500 square feet. You talk about energy efficient compared to other electrical forms of heating. Super, super good, man. Now, I said that like this is free solar heating, right? And it is. Once you have your solar system set up, it's totally free heating. The question is though, how long can you heat for, right? And that's the sticky part with it, right? Because if the sun's not shining and you're running off your batteries, well, you're draining your batteries at 2,400 watts per hour. I mean, it's going to turn on and off once you get up to temperature, but you're going to be using all that power off of your batteries. And so how long you can heat for free is going to depend on your battery bank and or whether the sun is shining, right? We've got 10,000 watts worth of solar panels out there. So on a sunny day, we can heat for free all day long with the Mr. Cool here and charge our batteries on a sunny day. But if it's not sunny, then it starts depleting the batteries. So how long you can heat for, like I said, is going to depend on how big your battery bank is. And so right now, check this out, man. We are down to 10 amps now, and we're still running, right? We are nowhere near up to temperature yet. I mean, we can't be, can we? I don't think so. Let's check. We're at, oh, we are. We're almost there, 79 degrees inside the house right now. So we're getting there, but it's still running, right? We still got a whole degree to go, and we're down to 10 amps right now. So that's only like 2,200 watts that we're using because this thing has its variable speed compressor in there and a variable speed fan as well. And so it'll go down and it'll go up depending on the load and what it needs to do. So I don't know, I'm pretty impressed with it. But you know, if you want to check one out for your place, I'll put a link down in the description below where you can check them out. And they got all different sizes of them, right? Like they got little ones and bigger ones, and they got way bigger ones than this as well. But I don't know what else to say, man. I like it.